all the substances of abuse, whether they're opiates or cocaine or anything else, they're actually painkillers. Some of them specifically are painkillers. But physical pain and emotional pain, the suffering is experienced in the same part of the brain. So when people suffer emotional rejection, the same part of the brain will light up as if you stuck them with a knife. The Eckhart Tolle says very nicely that addictions begin with pain and end with pain. So that all the addictions are attempts to soothe the pain. So when I work with addictions, the first question is always not why the addiction, but why the pain. And what you find is emotional loss or trauma. In the case of the severe addicts, as in the downtown East Side here, they were every single one of them traumatized. There's no women walking the streets here who had not been sexually abused, not even by accident. But you know, whether it's a sex addiction or internet or relationship or shopping or work addiction, these are all attempts to get away from distress. Keith Richards, the Rolling Stone guitarist, said, who used to have a severe heroin habit, as you know, he said that all the contortions we go through just not to be ourselves for a few hours. Or why would somebody not want to be themselves? Because they're in too much distress and too much pain. So I don't care what they tell you about genetics or any of that choices or any of that nonsense. It's always about pain. Well, the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, it's got a wonderful line in it. Whatever you do, don't try and escape from your pain, but be with it. Because the attempt to escape from pain is what creates more pain. And that's the reality with addiction. But the question is, how can people be with their pain? Well, only if they sense some compassion from somebody. So as another teacher says, only when compassion is present will people allow themselves to see the truth. So addicted people need a compassionate present which will permit them to experience their pain without having to run away from it. And all the attempts to run away, it's like another teacher says, the surest way to go to hell is to try to run away from hell. So you got to be with that pain. You just have to be with it, but you have to have some support. And we live in a society that, one way or the other, is always about instant relief, quick satisfaction, distraction. In other words, we live in a culture that is based on, both economically and psychologically, on not supporting people to be with themselves. So it's always the quick getaway. So it's very difficult to deal with addictions in a society. But yeah, it is a matter of, at some point, finding a way of being with your pain so that you can actually get to know what it's really all about.
دوستان عزیز و گرامی، به برنامه روانشناسی خودمانی خوش آمدید. همونطور که میبینین امروز مادرم اینجا نخواهد بود و به جاش ما براتون یک برنامه بسیار جالبی تهیه کردیم و ایشون توصیه کردند که سوالاتتون رو لطفاً در رابطه با برنامه امروزمون بپرسین و انگیج باشین با ما. امروز برنامه‌مون در رابطه با موضوع اعتیاد و اون پروسه و ریشه های اعتیاد و اینکه ما چگونه میتونیم از دیدگاه روانشناسی، از دیدگاه جامعه شناسی شاید تا حدی و از دیدگاه مردم شناسی این رو یه مقدار باز بکنیم و ببینیم که فرداً و به عنوان یک جامعه چه اقداماتی میتونیم انجام بدیم که شاید بهبودی، شاید بهزیستی، شاید امیدواری بیشتری در آینده برای جوانانمون و امروزه برای شما عزیزانی که با ادیکشن و با اعتیاد دست و پنجه نرم میکنین داشته باشیم. میهمان گرامی امروز من یکی از به اصطلاح روانشناسان و تراپیستای بسیار بسیار شناخته شده و گرامی اینجا شهر لس آنجلس و شاید غرب کالیفرنیا هستن. ایشون سالیان درازی هستش که در طی شناخت بیشتر و به اصطلاح بررسی بیشتر، تحقیق و سنجش و پیدا کردن اون شیوه درمان که در اصل ریشه عمیق داره در رابطه با بهبودی و کمک رسانی به فرد در چارچوب کانشسنس و مایندفولنس و ویل بینگ. امروز خوشحال هستم و بسیار مفتخر هستم که کوروش راسخ، دوست گرامی و کالیگ و از به اصطلاح پرکتیشنری که خیلی برای او ریسپکت و به اصطلاح احترام قائلم، چرا که انتخابی که کرده در چارچوب ساختن سازمان و شیوه های درمان اعتیاد و کمک رسانی به این کامیونیتی بسیار بسیار به اصطلاح پیشرو و پروگرسیو و جالب هستش، متفاوت هستش در چارچوب کانشسنس و هلث. این پرکتیس و این سازمان فعالیت میکنه و خیلی خوشحالم که این دیدگاه نو و دیدگاه بسیار جالب رو امروز باز بکنیم و با او این گفتمان رو داشته باشم. کوروش راسخ، welcome. خیلی خوش آمدی به برنامه روانشناسی خودمانی.
Merci. Thank you for having me.
I know for years, you have your master's in counseling and working with those who struggle with addiction. I know that you were a very active member at the UCLA Matrix program, and sort of leading practitioner in the field of mental health and dealing with those families who struggle with addiction and so forth. So let's start by just unpacking addiction from your perspective and giving this new perspective or your perspective sort of a light for the audience who perhaps has not heard this new perspective.
Yeah, thank you. I've been working in addiction treatment for a long time, and I actually started working in addiction treatment in the way that addiction treatment is delivered in the US and most of the Western world, and unfortunately in most of the world, which is really the focus on the behavior or the substance. And in that process, sort of recognizing, as most of us do who work in the field of addiction treatment, that we don't do very well. Depending on the statistics you look at, it goes from really terrible to just the worst possible outcomes. And I was very fortunate in my experiences. The intro was the voice of one of my teachers, one of my mentors, Dr. Gabor Mate, and others who began to influence my thinking around what if we are looking at addiction from the wrong perspective clinically? What if we are focusing too much on the behavior or the substances and connecting that with the problem rather than stepping back and looking at the person, the human being. And as Gabor, Dr. Mate explained so well in the clip that you showed, it's to step back and look at the individual and say, what is it that is demanding, forcing this person to essentially poison themselves as a way of getting through just a few hours or a few minutes or a day or whatever it might be, and to drop the ideas of substance treatment, behavior treatment, and really go into that human element to try to create a safety for that person to allow their pain to be revealed. To begin to experience that pain and to heal that pain.
That's beautiful. So نکته‌ای که اینجا مطرح میشه در رابطه با یک دید جدید به برخورد یا کار کردن با فردی که با به اصطلاح اعتیاد روبرو هستش، این هستش که شاید کوروش این فرصت رو دید در به اصطلاح تحقیقات و ریسرچ و اون طرز درمان کسانی که شاید با اعتیاد روبرو هستن و از اون فرم به اصطلاح کلینیکال فرمی که شاید چارچوبی هستش که خیلی از شما باهاش آشنا هستین در چارچوب دیاگنوستیک به اصطلاح کودز یا اینکه فرد رو اول تشخیص بدن که چه نوع اعتیاد و یا چه نوع شاید personality disorder و یا چه نوع dual diagnosis داره و بیشتر از طریق اون چارچوب کلینیکال مریض و به اصطلاح کلاینت رو درمان بکنن. یک دید ماورای این چارچوب کلینیکال این هستش که فرد رو هولیستیکلی به صورت کامل و به صورت انسانی و به صورت به اصطلاح اون جایگاه کانشسنسش و کی بودنش رو در چارچوب فقط انسانی باهاش برخورد بکنیم و این خب متفاوته از شیوه های 12 قدم، شیوه هایی که اعتیاد رو بیشتر به عنوان یک مریضی میشناسند و شناخت دارن و درمان متفاوته. از این درمان بر روی انسان و دردهای انسان و اون دردهای عمیق و ریشه‌ای انسان فرد وارد درمان میشه و در کنارش حالا ما شناخت خواهیم پیدا کرد از اینکه هولیستیکلی به صورت کامل این انسان رو چگونه باهاش رابطه برقرار میکنین به عنوان یک کلینیشن و روان درمانگر، چگونه او رو راهنمایی میکنین در مسیر ریکاوری و درمان و چگونه با او رابطه و یک به اصطلاح ریلیشنشیپ و کانکشن برقرار میکنیم و در چارچوب کانکشن همدیگر رو کمک میکنیم. So it's a different modality, I have to say.
It is a different modality, yeah. And there's a part of me that's grateful that my Farsi is so limited because I think you explained it better than I do. But it is.
I'll try. I will try.
Unfortunately, it's unfortunate that this is so revolutionary in the way of thinking. It really speaks to why addiction has become so difficult a topic and so scary. And that fear in parents, in communities, in teachers, in schools, in therapists, and in the medical world actually drives the fear more. Drives the addiction to grow rather than trying to help and to see the pain. We get so scared about the substance or the behavior. Oh no. And that creates more aloneness. Here you have somebody who is attending to that pain, who's saying, I'm in trouble in whatever way, I'm in pain, I'm having a tough time. And the response of the people around them is, oh no, don't do that. That creates more isolation, more pain, and then a need to manage that pain even more.
Beautiful. Okay, let me see if I can try. خب اگر که ما به اصطلاح قبول بکنیم که اعتیاد در اصل عدمش یا عدم رابطه یا کانکشن ما رو میبره به اون دنیای اعتیاد و میکشونه ما رو، گرایش های ما رو در اعتیاد بالا میبره، نظر کوروش راسخ در رابطه با درمان کردن اعتیاد این هستش که به جای اینکه توجهمون رو و اون حواسمون رو بذاریم روی اینکه فرد در چه رفتارهایی و چه اعتیادهایی درگیر هستش و چه موادی رو استفاده میکنه، چگونه اون مواد رو به اصطلاح درمان باید کرد و چگونه اون تریتمنت پلان رو در چارچوب به اصطلاح دیتاکس و چارچوب رفتار درمانی باید انجام داد. بخش دیگه از درمان مربوط میشه به اینکه شناخت درد فرد رو، چراییه گرایش فرد و اون دردی رو که داره و عمیق‌تر میره به موضوع و شناخت و به اصطلاح ریشه درد در فرد و چراییه این که فرد در اون دردش پناه میبره به مواد و خب این یک شیفت و یک دیدگاه خیلی به نظر من بالا و کانشسنسی احتیاج داره، یه حضور ذهن و تمرکز حواس و آگاهی به خصوصی، اندیشمندی به خصوصی احتیاج داره که از اونجا شما میتونین ببینین که شاید کل خانواده بهبودی پیدا بکنن، شاید کل خانواده این آگاهی و کانشسنس اونها رو کمک بکنه که به جای بهتری، به یک اِوولوشن و یه تکامل بهتری در روابطشون و رشدشون بپیوندن. So, working with a teenager, I know many parents who are just anxious and restless and hopeless at times about how to come alongside their teen who's smoking pot, which is very common nowadays, right? Sometimes, I have parents who say, well, our teen is smoking almost every day, 2-3 times a day. They think that they don't have a problem, but clearly they at times are not motivated to go to school, to be engaged in their relationships, friendships, family. They're disengaged, they're disconnected. So if a family like that comes to you and is consulting with you, what are the ways to deal with this addiction?
So the answer is in the question. When we think about what happens for kids, particularly in the preteen and the teenage years, they have lots of things to do. They have to grow their nervous system and their brain and all of these things. But that phase, that developmental period, is all about connection. It's all about socialization. I remember this really great quote. I don't even know who to attribute it to, but it says, teenagers go to extraordinary lengths to establish their unique identity by dressing and acting just like everybody else. Which really speaks to this power of socialization. And I see this all the time. The parents come and say exactly what you said. My child is disengaging. My child is losing interest in family, losing interest in friends, is not showing any vitality and smoking pot. And the focus is on the pot. I think there's so much power to say, wow, what is it that would take a child and make them disengage, to disconnect from that most important aspect of the adolescent period, which is to establish relationships, to move out of being a child and begin this transition into adulthood. We know that our nervous system, our beingness, all of it develops relationally. We are not an individual in a vacuum. We're an individual in relationship with the world around us. And unfortunately, when parents come to me, they come with the identification of the drug, the pot, as the problem. My kid is having all of this trouble because of pot, because they're smoking marijuana. Yes, of course, when you continually ingest, smoke, a substance that is a central nervous system depressant, it will have a dampening effect. But we have to go back one step and go, why did they begin to employ that? What was it that was keeping them from feeling better, wanting to engage? What was it that stopped them from thriving to begin with? The marijuana is a response to that. It's not the primary cause, it's the secondary cause. Definitely it adds to the problem. Again, if we go back to that short clip of Gabor, he talked about the killing of the pain using the substance causes new pain. And that's the effect of the marijuana. So I usually tell parents to begin to consider, what is it that's making the process of life difficult for their children if it wasn't the substance? To begin to really think about their kids differently.
Okay, which puts a lot of responsibility on conscious parenting.
Absolutely.
And so it is a very intentional and strong sort of hard work in staying connected and devoted to conscious parenting. So if you as a parent are losing your connection with your child in that field of consciousness, it's inevitable, right? It sounds like the addiction would be inevitable in some field, maybe shopping, maybe chocolate, maybe. So staying in that mindset and that conscious mindset where we were born and we were created to be as parents connected to our children, with health, with well-being, and with the ability, the wisdom to know those healthy spaces. Because sometimes, parents misunderstand conscious parenting as attachment parenting and just being so connected and enmeshed, where in fact it's the opposite. Because if you're attuned and conscious to your teenager who's at the sort of space or point or developmental stage or touch point of branching out and exploring and finding their identity and just having fun with it. If you support that, if you can cultivate sort of growth and be in that growth mindset with your teenager, there's nothing more liberating and beautiful than letting go and to really be there for them when they need you, but also staying attuned to those times when they're down and in pain and suffering.
Yeah, and absolutely, that's exactly right. The kids need their parents to see them. They need a lot of things from their parents. At the core, they need to be seen. They need to be accepted. And if it doesn't happen in the primary caregivers, the father and the mother, it can still happen elsewhere, and that creates resilience. But the greatest resilience, which is what stands between anybody and addiction, whatever the trauma might be that happens, it's that idea of resilience. It comes from feeling felt, that when I'm happy, I'm allowed to be happy, and somebody sees my joy. And when I'm sad, that somebody sees my sadness. I've worked with so many teenagers. It's my favorite population to work with, young adults, teenagers, and we just begin to unravel all of these times where the kid was struggling and they weren't being seen for the struggle, but they were being seen for the behavior that came from the struggle. So I'm having a really tough time making friends or concentrating in class, and I tell everybody around me by hitting somebody. But I get in trouble for hitting somebody rather than somebody saying, "Why did you hit? What was the pain that made you do that?" Of course we don't want kids to run around and hit people. But if we were to see that in terms of, oh, something's happening here, if we go into the teenage years and you see somebody that's struggling and they drink a lot or they smoke a lot of pot, to not go, "Stop smoking, stop drinking, that's bad for you, it's going to fry your brain, you're going to stunt your growth, you're going to turn into a loser, to a nothing." That's the same thing as punishing a kid for telling you, "I'm in pain." When a kid is smoking all the time or using substances all the time, they're telling you that their pain is really, really severe. And so it's about wondering to start that conscious aspect. It starts with the parents, not with the kid, but with the parents internally to go, what's my kid's pain? You'd be shocked how few parents can answer that question. They look at me like I'm an alien. And they want to say, well, it's smoking pot. Well, no, that's not the pain. That's the painkiller.
Wow, that was just beautiful. So inspired. Okay, let me unpack that and try my best in Farsi. دوستان بسیار بسیار نکته ظریف و مهمی هستش، نه تنها در چارچوب conscious parenting، در چارچوب evolution و رشد و به اصطلاح health well-being در اصل. اگر ما به عنوان یک مادر و پدری که به اصطلاح توجهمون، تمرکز حواسمون روی consciousness well-being و رابطه برقرار کردن سالم با بچه هامون در چارچوب صلح هستش، توجهمون رو میذاریم رو شناخت اون چیزی که به فرزند ما دردناکه یا براش دردناکه و آشنا بودن با اون رفتار، اون احساسات، اون به اصطلاح افکار، اون سنجشی که شاید با حساسیت به خصوصی توجه بکنیم به اینکه چی کودک ما رو میرنجونه، چی برای او غم میاره، وقتی که غمناک هستش چرا غمناکه و چرا بودن این غم کودک ما شاید یکی از مهمترین خصوصیات رابطه ما در چارچوب conscious parenting با بچه هامون باشه. کوروش همونطور که اشاره کرد در رابطه با تراپی و کانسلینگی که با مادر و پدران میکنه، به خصوص با تینیجرها که از گروه هایی هستش که بسیار علاقه داره و کار میکنه با خانواده هایی که تینیجرشون شاید دچار اعتیاد هستن، این هستش که شناخت اون دردها و اینکه آیا مادر و پدر آشنا هستن، میدونن که چرا تینیجرشون، چرا دختر و نوجوان یا پسرشون در درد هستش و از کجا این دردش میاد، چرایی این دردش رو، و اشاره میکنه به خوبی که خیلی از اوقات مادر و پدر رو به من نگاه میکنن انگار من یه ایلین یا یه فرد از یه کره دیگه ای آمدم، از مارس یا کره دیگه ای آمدم، مریخ. و خلاصه این مشکل اصلی اون رابطه میتونه باشه، چرا که همونطور که اشاره کردیم اون ور قضیه در رابطه با اعتیاد یا اون ور سکه نداشتن رابطه و نداشتن اون کنکشن و نزدیکی احساسی عاطفی بچه ها با مادر و پدر میتونه باشه. بنابراین میدونم در چارچوب vulnerability versus resilience، یعنی اون ابعاد و یا اون نکاتی که شاید فرد رو بیشتر در ریسک ادکشن و اعتیاد جلو میبره، پیش میبره، در مقابلش اون ابعاد و یا اون نکاتی که او رو پروتکت میکنه و مراقبش هستش و در رشدش او رو کمک میکنه، در به اصطلاح طرز تراپی که کوروش در به اصطلاح اون سازمانشون به کار میبرن، این نکته بسیار مهمه و همونطور که اشاره کرد در رابطه با کنکشن و رابطه مادر و پدران میبایست از مسئولیت اونها هستش که با دردهای فرزندانشون و نوجوانانشون آشنایی داشته باشن، شناخت داشته باشن و بدونن که چگونه اونها رو کمک بکنن. I mean, it's basic human suffering, compassion, self-compassion and self-care skills. اینی که و خیلی هم مهمه این رابطه رو وقتی که I'm sure when you work with the families to make the connection where perhaps those parents who are lacking connection with themselves
Absolutely.
and lack self-compassion and lack self-care and are burned out and are overextended with work and exhausted and so forth, they have not prioritized self-care and self-compassion as a very valuable piece of their growth and family thriving. Perhaps those parents are vulnerable, are at risk.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where it all starts. It's not about people not parenting appropriately. It's even about living in a world that doesn't foster generation to generation connectivity. It promotes generation to generation separation. Mm-hmm. So oftentimes if a parent can't see their own pain, it becomes really almost impossible for them to then see their child's pain. I also want to acknowledge that I'm not talking about letting your kids do whatever they want and say, oh, they're in pain. If we use a sort of an analogy, like if you see your toddler, your 3-year-old or your 4-year-old, running out in the middle of the street, any parent, the appropriate thing to do is to grab your child, and you don't grab them, you grab them as gently as you can, but forcefully. And in that moment, it's really important to tell that child that running in the middle of the street is not a good idea. And in a way to scare them, right? But if you only scare them, if that's all you do, you will scar them. But after you scare them, you give them a hug. And you let them know that mommy and daddy got really scared. And this is why we did that. So you want the nervous system to know, running in the middle of the street, bad idea. And the reason that I scared you is because I'm parenting you, because I'm keeping you safe. That's my job. Now, if we go into the teenage year and we see that kids are using substances that can have a similar effect of getting hit by a car, you want to do the same thing. You want to grab your kid. That's really important to do. Just like you do with a toddler that's running in the middle of the street. You need to do that. They need that support and that safety, and it starts in the home. And then it's about connecting, is to respond. Now, everything you said, I agree with 100%. It starts with compassion, and it starts with self-compassion. The kid wasn't running in the middle of the street to ruin your life, right? The kid wasn't running in the middle of the street because they didn't care about their future and they were trying to get hit by a car. They did it as an instinct. That adolescents' behavior is not that different. They're not using marijuana or cocaine or alcohol because they're trying to ruin their lives. They're not trying to get hit by the drug car, as it were. But they are in danger, and to intervene is really important. But then to teach, to see them, and that starts with the inside. Wow, I got scared. I'm a parent and I'm scared. I'm scared for you. I got really scared, and that's why I did what I did. That's why I said what I said. And I'm wondering what's happening for you. Over time, those kinds of conversations can have the effect of revealing the pain.
And I imagine in cases when the parents have neglected the child or the teenager for a long time, and they're at a point where that type of awareness, it takes time and work for them to reconstruct and rebuild, that you as a therapist are there to affirm, to see them, to be with their pain and help them navigate through what it's like to just sit with the pain and not have to escape it.
Yeah, that's the benefit of having an outsider. The outsider can come in, and I don't have a history of pain, the intimate connection with the adolescents, the young adults, and the family. And so I can invite in from this outsider perspective. I can challenge. This is not easy, particularly when you get to the teenage years. It's rare, unless an event happens. If there's an event-based trauma, something that's really shocks the system. When you see adolescent behavior, it is usually started years before. So there's years and years of interplay between schools and parents and the child and the expression of pain and the stress that the parents are in, trying to make a living, trying to provide for their families, trying to attend to their own relationship. It's the most common thing that I personally experience, and I hear from my friends and my colleagues and my clients and patients, is how difficult it is to connect with other people. We are so consumed with the demands on our time with work and all of these things. So those are present in the family system. So absolutely, to get help, and to get help from somebody that's willing to come in, and it can be a therapist, it can be a spiritual guide, a religious guide, a community elder, somebody in the family. Depends on the family and the community and the culture that the individual is in. Can open doors that are otherwise really hard to open, to intervene, to create that sense of safety, and in a way to hold the compassion until all the members of the family can find the compassion.
در رابطه با این دنیای امروزه و دنیای مدرن که چقدر در سرعت به اصطلاح دنیای امروزه مدرن ما روابطمون رو از دست دادیم و چقدر تکنولوژی و این عصر تکنولوژی باعث شده که فکر بکنیم که با هم در تماسیم، شاید از طریق فیسبوک یا سوشال میدیا عکسای خانواده‌های همدیگر رو می‌بینیم، قصه های همدیگر رو تا حدی میشنویم، ولی اون کانکشن، اون رابطه اصلی و واقعی موقعی صورت میگیره که در حضورن و با هم و این رشد و تکامل و اِوولوشن در چارچوب با هم بودن جلو میره. بنابراین هوشیار بودن و توجه کردن به این نکته ظریف که چگونه بتونیم زندگی امروزمون رو، زندگی مدرن امروزمون رو یه مقدار تغییراتی درش به وجود بیاریم، پرایورتایز بکنیم. شاید اون سیستم پیشرفت یا سیستم ساکسس و سیستمی که پیشرفت و موفقیت رو در چارچوب سرعت و جلو رفتن و بالا بودن و بهترین بودن یه مقدار جابجا بکنیم و ببینیم که اون ولیوها، اون چیزایی که برامون مهمه برای حفظ رابطه، برای کانکشن و برای با هم بودن، اونها کجاست و کجا قرار میگیره. It's such an important point and I agree. I too struggle with it, and I too am part of a community who struggles with it. And on one hand, I believe technology has given us sort of this ability to think. We have this illusion that we can do more, that we can achieve more, that we can get more, and we can be better. And sometimes we do. Sometimes it does help. But to what cost? To really prioritize and know, okay, so what's going to be meaningful and what's going to be important to my child or our family 10 years from now?
Right.
And like you say, you know, it's the friendships, the relationships, the people that we've grown old with, that we've known each other, that you know, and to prioritize that, to say, okay, well, you know, I'm not going to go to this work meeting this week. I'm going to, because I can maybe carve it out, or some seminar or some work that we're doing, but instead I'm going to have a get together with friends. And I'm going to spend time, and I'm going to catch up, and I'm going to see them in person, and I'm going to have a good time. And you're right. It is a dilemma and a challenge, and a modern life challenge.
Absolutely. And technology is great, right? It has so many benefits.
Yeah.
And, you know, we hear so much about the opioid epidemic, and it's a terrible thing.
Yeah.
And the proliferation of opioids and the consequences are awful. There is another... There's another addiction that is even more widespread in adolescence, and that's the device. You see kids who are unable to connect with each other. They're in groups, and each one of them on a device, and sometimes they're communicating with each other through this device. Now, how great that we can share aspects of our lives. There's been some amazing sunsets this last week, and the only reason I know that is because of social media, right? Because I'm at the clinic in the time it gets dark. So I've been able to be witness to some amazing sunsets that my friends have.
And we have 13 viewers, 14 and 15, who are right now with us through technology.
That's right.
So hi, everyone.
Hi, everybody. So it's really great. But the idea that the pursuit of busyness leads to happiness. It's just not true. It's exactly the same as using substances. It can be fantastic. If we look at outcomes, if you want your child to be healthy and happy and thrive and have healthy relationships and success, whatever that means to them and to you as a family, experimentation with substances during adolescence is an indicator of success. It's one of the things that kids are supposed to do. And whether that's right or wrong, it's just that's what the science shows us, the people that count the numbers. So some experimentation is a good thing.
Yeah.
But then to use substances as a way of creating a shield, you're never going to see me, you're only going to see a high version of me. Well, that's no longer experimentation. That's using something as a shield. The same thing happens with phones. To use phones successfully or technology successfully so that you can keep in contact with more people, that's fantastic. But to use that device as something that stands between us, that keeps you and I from relating, that's the same thing. So it's a real dilemma, and parents are in the same mix. We're sort of tied to our devices that ties us to what we do for a living, and that takes up so much of our time that we don't connect.
Yeah, and it's not always so black and white. I talk about this with parents all the time. I say, so a device can be, a distraction at times. It can help you, like it's helping us right now. But it is that mindfulness and finding your sweet spot. I always talk about this, finding the sweet spot in your parenting, conscious parenting. 80% or 80 out of 100 times, if you're making those right choices and doing good enough parenting and staying connected and being mindful and really connecting through your relationships with your children and others, I think that's good enough. That's great. The 20% that you're kind of being playful and messy and just like, testing, exploring, experimenting, it's not going to harm you. Really, and we see consistent research in the field of marital relationship. There's the 5-to-1, Gottman's 5-to-1 ratio, and other fields. If you are doing good enough, 80-20, some people like it even 70-30, you got to find your sweet spot. If you're doing good enough, then have self-compassion for yourself and don't be so self-critical. And it's not an all or nothing decision. You can kind of play around with it. I like children, younger kids, my kids are 10 and they have a device. I like testing that out because in a way, I'm getting to learn about their baseline and how they use the device within the context of them being still so connected and so engaging and so interested to have those conversations. So when they see an image that is inappropriate, to ask questions and for me to guide them and have this media literacy dialogue and proposition that yes, we're growing and we're learning about boundaries and healthy digital boundaries and devices and how to use a device in a healthy way. And so you got to find your sweet spot. You got to find what works for you and your family. When it comes to substances and drugs, I have to admit, I've been scaring my kids. And I know you wouldn't like this, but I do. Like every chance I get, I can't lie. Like the billboard, where they're counting down, smokers dying, if they notice it, and they say, "Oh, mommy, what is that?" Oh, well, let me tell you, people who smoke can develop lung cancer and can die. So having those opportunities to educate them, and I don't get evil about it, but I do. I'm on the side of instilling a little bit of fear, because it is scary.
Well, and that's appropriate. We have to put all of this in the context of the world we live in, and not just the global world, but our microcosm, our society. It is a very good idea to pull your kid out of the way of a car that looks like a pack of Marlboros, right? That's a really good idea. You want to save your kid from getting hit by that car. Nicotine is used all over the world, and there are places, and there was a lot more places before the imposition of certain standards onto people by other people, where nicotine was part of life. It still is a part of life. Tobacco is a part of ritual, part of ceremony, and there's virtually no addiction. There are places where the coca leaf is a part of the culture, and there's no cocaine addiction in the way that you have it here. So smoking here is not the same, and it's a really good idea. If kids are engaged in that behavior, it's likely going to lead to bad places, because there's a whole force around selling to them, making them feel as though they're not good enough, that they're not okay, and that this thing will make them better. it taps into those vulnerabilities. So I think it's a really great idea for parents to always pull their kids away. Substances have very, very significant impact on the nervous system. And they take you on a wild ride. And it's really good to educate kids about that. It is a thing to be appropriately scared of. To not just let kids run wild and to try. Experimenting with substances is a very scary process. And for parents to see their kids is to also see that fear and to appropriately teach them about that fear. So I'm not suggesting that parents just allow their kids to do anything. That's absolutely not healthy. But it's about seeing your kids and recognizing to take the pressure off the parents. That a lot of this isn't about the parents' failure. It's never about the parents' failure. It's about their own struggle in a world that suggests, don't worry about parenting your kids. Just go to work more and get a bigger car, a nicer house, or a bigger house, nicer car, as it were. Buy more clothes, eat this food, take this supplement, then you'll be okay. Because all of that is in service of profits. And again, I'm not anti-profits either, but it's about the imposition of that onto people to take us away from each other.
I could go on for hours in having this conversation with you, Koorosh Rasekh. For those of you, I have to apologize از شما عذر میخوام. میدونم خیلی ها رو خط آمدین و ما چون در گفتمانمون در بحثمون جالب بود و جلو میرفت من خطوط رو جواب ندادم، ولی ازتون میخوام که در وبسایت کوروش راسخ که وبسایت EVO Health and wellness.com روی صفحه میبینین، تشریف ببرین اونجا با کوروش در تماس باشین اگر از او کمک میخواین و یا you have upcoming seminars and you have educational programs for parents. اگر که احتیاج به کمک دارین، اگر که احتیاج به اطلاعات دارین، فقط میخواین در تماس باشین و یا میخواین در رابطه با سنتر ایشون و کارهای ایشون و اینکه دعوتشون بکنین برای شاید سازمانتون، برای مدرسه‌تون، برای ارگانیزیشنتون سخنرانی بدن و کمک بکنن که آگاهی رو در جامعهمون در چارچوب پیش به اصطلاح prevention و prevention به این صورت که هرچی اطلاعات و کانشسنس ما به عنوان مادر و پدر بالاتر بره میتونیم پیشگیری اعتیاد رو به خوبی جلو ببریم و درمان. از شما کوروش سپاسگزارم. Thank you so much for doing this show and the awareness that you bring to the world. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.